You should always remember that your faith is stronger than your fear. Your faith is what helps you to stay calm and do the thing. Let your faith speak louder than fear. This means you should trust your faith and not let fear take over your life. Your faith is what will get you through times, so let it speak louder than fear. This is not a sentence, it is a special message from Jesus himself. Jesus is calling to us. He wants us to stop listening to all the thoughts and worries that bother us. We should listen to the voice of faith instead. Fear is something that people have always felt. Since the beginning of time, people have been afraid of losing things, failing, being rejected, getting sick. Things they do not know. Every time people were afraid, God said the same thing. Do not be afraid. Jesus is saying this to us. God is saying this to us, and it is a message from God that we should not be afraid of anything. Fear is normal. Jesus and God want us to be strong and have faith. Jesus himself is telling us to have faith and not be afraid. Jesus did not come to take away all the times in our lives, but he came to show us how to stay strong when things get really bad. When we really believe in Jesus, our faith is louder than what we're afraid of. It goes deeper than the pain we feel, and it is more powerful than what is happening to us. Jesus is the one who helps our faith be strong like that. Fear is really loud when things seem impossible. It says to us that we are all by ourselves, that God is not paying attention to us, and that this time we will not be able to get out of it. Fear makes our problems look huge, even bigger than God. Faith is different. Faith makes God look big, and our problems look small when we are close to him. Jesus saw a lot of people who were afraid when he was on this earth. People were afraid of getting sick, dying, being rejected, demons, and even afraid of God. Jesus never said that people should be afraid. He always told people to trust him. He would say things like believe, because when we have faith, it is like a bridge between our hearts and God's power. Jesus said only believe times because he wanted people to know that faith is what really matters. Jesus and faith go together. When we have faith in Jesus, we can do great things. The disciples were in a boat when a big storm came. The water was slamming into the boat. The wind was really strong. The disciples were scared that they were going to die. They thought death was there. Jesus was sleeping like everything was okay. He was not sleeping because he did not know about the storm. He was sleeping because he really trusted God. The disciples woke him up because they were so scared. Jesus asked them why they were scared. He did not ask because the storm was not real. He asked because the disciples had stopped believing in God when they got scared. Jesus and the storm and the disciples were all there together. The disciples were focusing on the storm. Jesus was focusing on God. So Jesus said one thing and the sea became calm. He showed us something important. When we have faith and say something, the bad things have to listen. The storm stopped because Jesus was there with the disciples. It did not stop because the disciples were brave. It stopped because Jesus was with them. Faith is like that today too. It is not about what we can do. Faith is about trusting Jesus Christ. When we trust Jesus Christ, that is what matters. Jesus Christ is the one who makes the difference, not us. Fear often grows when we focus on what's right in front of us. Our faith in God grows when we trust the things that God has said he will do. Jesus told the people who followed him not to worry about what will happen tomorrow. He did not say this because tomorrow will be easy. He said it because God will already be there waiting for us. Faith in God means we believe that he is doing something even when we do not see anything happening. We trust that just because things are taking a time, it does not mean that God is not going to do them. We also trust that just because God is quiet, it does not mean that he has left us. Fear in our hearts asks us questions like, what if God does not do what we want him to do? Faith says, I do not understand everything, but I trust God. This kind of faith in God does not say that bad things are not real. It just means that faith in God gives everything to God. Faith in God is when we say, God, I do not know what is going on. I trust God. We give our problems to God. We trust that God will take care of them. Jesus never said that our lives would be easy. He told us that we will have problems in this world. Jesus also said that we can have peace. This peace is not about what's happening to us. It is about Jesus. We can have peace because Jesus is with us. Jesus gives us peace when things are not going well. He gives us peace before he makes things better. This is because Jesus being with us is more important than fixing our problems. When we trust Jesus, we do not have to be afraid. Jesus is more powerful than our fears. Jesus gives us peace. That is what matters. This is a powerful story about faith beating fear. It is when Peter got out of the boat and started walking towards Jesus on the water. Everything around Peter was pretty shaky. It just did not make sense that he could do this. Fear was telling him that this was a bad idea. Then Jesus said one word, "Come." Long as Peter looked at Jesus, he was able to do something that is not possible. The moment Peter started looking at the wind and the waves, fear started to scare him and he started to sink. Faith is what helped Peter walk on water. It was faith in Jesus that made this happen. Jesus is the one who told Peter to come. Peter had faith in Jesus. Jesus still helped the man back then. This shows that Jesus values the faith that people have even if it is not perfect. Jesus does not turn his back on people when they make mistakes. Jesus saves people, helps them to have more trust in Jesus. Jesus teaches people to trust Jesus more. Fear is really bad for us. It stops us from moving on, makes us scared of what is going to happen next. Faith in Jesus helps us to keep going even when we do not know what is ahead. Faith in Jesus does not wait for everything to be just right. It just takes the step and does what Jesus says. Jesus told people to do things that were not easy. He told fishermen to leave their boats and come with him. He told tax collectors to leave their jobs and follow him. He told people who were hurting to leave their mistakes behind and come with him. Jesus wants us to have faith in him and follow him no matter what. Faith in Jesus is what moves us forward. It helps us to trust him and do what he says. They had no idea what the end of the journey would be like. Their faith was stronger than their fear, so they just kept going, followed the journey. The journey was all that mattered to them. They had faith in it. They followed the journey. Fear makes us forget about God and what God has already done for us. Our faith in God remembers all the things God has done. It remembers what happened at the Red Sea. It remembers the walls of Jericho falling. It remembers all the sick people God healed. And it remembers the people God brought back to life. The God who did all those things is still doing things today. Jesus Christ is the God he was a long time ago. He is the same God today, and he will be the same God forever. When we are afraid, we might think that this time is different. Our faith in God tells us that God is still faithful to us. God is still the God who takes care of us, and our faith in God reminds us of that. When we are afraid and it reminds us of our weakness, our faith reminds us of God's strength. Faith helps us to remember that God is strong. He can help us. So when fear comes and reminds us of the things we cannot do, our faith in God reminds us of his power and strength. At the cross, it seemed like fear was in control. The whole land was covered in darkness. It looked like all hope was gone, and the disciples were really scared, so they ran away. But what seemed like a loss was actually a big win. On the day Jesus came back to life, he got up from the grave. That was it for fear. Jesus showed that he is stronger than death. He defeated sin. Now we can have hope that will never end. Because Jesus is alive, fear does not have power over the people who believe in Jesus. Our faith is now strong because of what Jesus did when he came back to life. Jesus. That means we do not have to be afraid. Jesus is the one who gives us the power to stand up to fear. Faith is not something we feel, it is also something that comes out in the things we say. The things we say can actually change what we think is true. If we say things that are full of fear, it can make us feel more anxious. If we say things that are full of faith, it is like we are asking God to do what he promised in our lives. When we say what God says is true of saying what we are afraid of, our hearts start to think like God does. Saying things that are full of faith does not mean we do not feel any pain. It means we are saying that God is with us even when we are hurting. When we talk about our faith, it gives us hope. When we talk about our faith, it makes us feel peaceful. Faith, it brings hope. Faith, it brings peace into our lives. When faith speaks, it reminds the soul that God is not finished with us yet. Faith tells us that God is still working on the things that are important to us. Faith is like a voice that says God is not done with us. That is a pretty cool thing to remember. Faith is what helps us keep going when things get tough. It is what reminds us that God is not finished with our lives. Today, Jesus sees what you are going through. He knows about the things that are weighing you down, the prayers you say quietly, and the things that scare you that you do not tell anyone. Jesus is not away from what you are dealing with. He is there with you, telling you, do not be afraid, trust Jesus. Having faith in Jesus does not make your problems go away. It helps you deal with them in a different way. You do not have to face your problems by yourself. You can face them knowing that Jesus is the one who will help you win. Jesus is the one who will give you the strength you need to get through this. Let your faith speak louder than fear. Let it rise above anxiety, above doubt, above every negative voice that tries to silence your hope. Choose to trust Jesus even when you don't understand. Choose to believe even when the outcome is unclear. When faith becomes the loudest voice in your life, peace will guard your heart, strength will fill your soul, and God's purpose will unfold in ways you never imagined.